Will Little Nightmares 3 keep us up at night? Or is Metroid Prime 2's retro charm stealing the show? All this and more on episode 94, Super Mega Ball X Nightmares. Coming right up.
Ready? Go!
Hey, what's up, gamers? Welcome into the Game or Die Show. My name is Ryan Moore, and I'm going to be diving into some games that I've been playing, a little bit of streaming, and hyping up anything else. So let's get at it. Today, I'm going to be breaking down MegaBonk and BallXPit, getting pumped up for a Little Nightmares 3, and then getting let down by it, revisiting Metroid Prime 2 in my back catalog, and crowning American McGee's Alice as October's Game of the Month. You want in? Hit me up on X with hashtag GameOrDiePod, and let's get started. So let's get started with MegaBonk. Now, this is an indie game, and I've been really getting into indie games over the course of the last year and a half or so. Mostly because AAA publishing, big budget publishers like Microsoft, Ubisoft, Sony, Nintendo, they've all completely dropped the ball. And we have all known this for quite a while. And I've gone on record over the last couple of years talking about the video game crash 2.0. And it seemed like it was just on the cusp of happening. But something happened this year. Indie games have taken the top spot where most big publishers put out one or two games per year now, if that. Like, we're lucky if we get a sequel to a well-known franchise 1 year after the other. I mean, we've got Call of Duty and the FIFA soccer games, and that's about it. Everything else has been just in this weird flux of, man, we might get a new Halo every 7 years. We might get a, new Gears of War game or something like that, but we don't have those big tentpole releases every year from every major publisher at all. And so the indie scene has really kind of taken that place of massive, huge games that come out of nowhere and sell millions of copies in just a handful of days, and only by word of mouth. They have very little, if no marketing behind them for the most part. And I say for the most part because there's definitely been some games, especially the ones I'm going to talk about later in the podcast, that definitely have had that. But for right now, we're talking about what is called MegaBonk. And I really don't like the name of this game. I think it sounds silly, and I wrote it off the moment that I heard about it. But over the course of one day, from the morning when I saw that there was a post on X about it being released, and I went, oh, MegaBonk, that sounds kind of dumb. And then over the course of the afternoon, I just started hearing people just talk about how cool it was. And I saw some pictures, and I think I might have saw a little video clip, and I went, oh, this looks fun. This looks like 3D Vampire Survivors. And that's basically what it is. It's 3D Vampire Survivors, where the game itself is just traversing around a level, and you have these horde of enemies, and you don't do anything other than move your character. You have no control over your attacks. You have no control over anything other than you moving your character and finding things in the world that you can open up or interact with. So there are chests that you open up. There are shrines that you can press X to interact with, and it will always do something automatically. But that's pretty much it. Everything in the game world, you are just moving your character around, and these hordes of enemies are coming at you, and your character automatically has a specific weapon that they are attacking with on a timer. So every 3 seconds, your character uses a whip, or your character has a gun and it shoots 2 bullets. And that's it until you start killing enemies and gaining XP by collecting their XP drops, which are, I believe, gems. And then as soon as you get enough XP, you level up. And when you level up, you get a opportunity to choose from a couple different types of upgrades. You can either upgrade your current weapon, upgrade a special power that your character also has, like maybe they have a shield that activates if they get hit or something like that, or you get a new weapon, or you get some sort of buff or debuff to your character as well. So it all kind of depends, and it's luck of the draw. And I'm not a big fan of randomization and chance in games. I really prefer when games allow me to get better and do well in the game by skill, not by chance. And that is something that does happen fairly often in my first, I'd say, handful of runs. I had some really bad luck of the draw where just nothing was happening and I would die pretty much instantly within, 45 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. And it was kind of frustrating at the very, very outset. But once I started learning how the game worked and realizing, oh, it is just 3D Vampire Survivors, and being able to utilize the jump mechanic, which is so helpful. Not only can you jump over enemies so that you can kind of do a little bit better avoidance, but you also travel faster in most cases if you are jumping in the air. And also, when you level up, you get a chance to have an upgrade that helps your bullets or any attacks be doubled their attack rate or their damage rate when you're in the air. So there's a lot of extra stuff going on. Also, the levels are not flat. Like Vampire Survivors, you are looking at a side top down view of your character and the level and the enemies. It's a god's eye view of your character and the world around you that you're playing in. But with this, you have full 3D swinging camera control around your entire character. So not only are you able to get a better layout of the land, but you can also kind of go and see where you want to go next. You can swing the camera around and go, well, that's a wall. Oh, that's a hill. And I can kind of see up it. And it looks like there's a shrine up there. Maybe I'll go there. But as you're going on your way, you see that shrine is actually, a debuff type of thing that you encounter. And so you might want to change course and swing the camera somewhere else to kind of get a different lay of the land. And it's just really interesting. I had such a fantastic time playing around with this game, having fun. I dumped like 17 hours in the first few days of this game. It was incredible. The amount of enemies on screen that come at you at some point just get insanely overwhelming. And I was kind of bummed because it does do the thing like Vampire Survivors where once you finish the level and the timer ticks down to 0, these ghosts come at you and they come at you so fast that they will kill and overwhelm you no matter what. At some point you will die and you have to restart over. Why? Because yes, it's one of the roguelike type of games where it's always progressing and it's more run based, which I always call run based. I really dislike the genre name of I hate this genre name so much. Roguelike and rogue lights. So I always prefer to call them what they are, run based characters. And when I started realizing that I was taking these characters on runs and I was just trying to upgrade their character, get X amount of kills to unlock something in the main menu system, that became a whole nother snake pit of just trying to figure out what do I want to actually get? What do I want to actually unlock? And it was a blast. I think one of the big things is you get X amount of characters, you get different characters, and all these characters actually have such different play styles. It's really interesting. Not only is some characters slower or faster than others, but some of them have much better weapons or energy that they use than others. And so it creates a unique experience every single time you sit down and play the game. And I just had a blast with it. I could not stop playing. It's the addictive just one more run. That's all I want. That's all I need. Just one more run. If I can get one more run in, it's 15 minutes. I'll die definitely by then. And then you end up spending 45 minutes on a run because you continually progress. And that's what I also liked about this is that at the end of the timer, and it ticks down. The timer goes into overtime for 1 to 2. It starts counting up instead of down, seeing how long you can last. But there is an exit route. There is actually a boss fight in every level. So not only is the goal to just survive until the timer ticks down and then the horde comes and will kill you and it's see how long you can survive. But it's also find the boss and the exit gate, which is where the boss is, and kill the boss and exit the level. So it also becomes a management of trying to figure out the level layout because it is procedurally generated, it is different every single time, and trying to figure out where the boss is, where the exit point is, during the timer, trying to upgrade, getting upgraded enough to take on the boss, exit the level before the timer hits 0 or right as the timer hits 0, and you can fight off the horde for about a minute or so, usually if you've upgraded enough, and then you can exit. So you can kind of like risk and get some reward out of it. It is a very big risk versus reward mechanic, and I dug that too. And as soon as you exit the level, you enter a new version of that level with different color schemes and much harder enemies. And it starts all over again. And again, if you do get these really good upgrades, you will find yourself spending 45 to 50 minutes on just one single run. And I love that, but I hate it at the same time because it just makes the game so much longer without, feeling very rewarded sometimes because you are accruing gold that permanently gets added into your coin purse at the end of the run and in the main level select or menu system, however you want to call it. This is something that I probably should do. I do apologize, but I should probably look up some of these more actual terms for this series because I always forget the names of the main menu system and the coins that you get, the points that you accrue that are permanently established in your character's main menu system. So that's on me and that's something I will try and work on to have a little bit more precise wording. But honestly, for the most part, MegaBonk is a ridiculously fun, ridiculously goofy game. It's meant to not be taken seriously. It's made by a single developer. The developer is very memey. Luckily, it's not too hardcore into the memes because I really dislike when games or even humans just make their entire identity memes. It's just annoying to me, but is sprinkled enough throughout the game that it doesn't bother me too much. And the developer definitely seems like he's just like, whatever, I don't care. It's kind of a little bit standoffish and he's playing it aloof to the point where I kind of think it's very pretentious because he knows he made something good. He knows he's getting exposure. He's a multimillionaire at this point, and he's just being kind of a troll, an internet troll. And I've never liked people like that. I've never understood why people would just be jerks on the internet like that. So that's just kind of a little bit me thing. But I think the fact that the game did so well while it just being so ridiculous is awesome. Like it's a really fun game. It's a huge time sink, but in such a good way that I just enjoyed the crap out of it. And I could not stop playing it. And luckily, if you listen to the last episode, it was at a time when I kind of really needed that. With my birthday and me being kind of a little bit depressed in a way and just being bored out of my mind and really not wanting to play some video games, it became this game that I could hold on to and play, not get super invested into it, but have it work on me and my my not personality, but have it work on my attention span and my dude, I'm trying to think of the wording and I cannot think of it. But it did come at a point where I needed it. And it just kind of broke that shell off. For whatever reason, over the last month and a half or so, I've been feeling really down and not really wanting to play video games, not really wanting to stream. It's why I haven't streamed in like a week and a half. Like, that's so rare. I haven't really done that since last year when we moved. And the only reason why is because we moved. But I've been feeling just really bummed out with not video games, but just kind of everything about what's going on in my life right now. And it sucks. And I'm trying to work on it, but just video games weren't doing it for me for about the last 2.5, 3 weeks. And then out of nowhere, MegaBonk comes out and I start playing it and I'm just having a great time. I'm not taking it too seriously. I'm not getting super invested. And it broke that shell like I had a few years ago with pinball. You know me, you know I love my pinball games and my virtual pinball and VR pinball and all that. And man, it just was so enjoyable to play. So I love Megabonk. And the real cool thing too is it was like $8. It's a super cheap game. I think it was like 10% off, at the start, the first few days. But I think it's like a $9 game, even without any sales or anything like that. And it's just so much fun. It's so enjoyable. It's so addicting. It is just nuts. And it's something that I'm kind of bummed about because one of my best friends, Tom, he was such a great friend, one of my favorite people in the entire world. My best friend in like my college age best friend. And Tom and I would play video games until like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd have to kick him out of my house because I'm like, dude, I want to go to sleep. Leave me alone. But this would be a game that him and I would love playing. Just super addictive, super crazy, just crap going on screen. It's what we called it's crack on speed. And that's what we use to describe Geometry Wars. On the Xbox 360, in the very early days of the 360, early first basic Xbox 360 Live Arcade game was Geometry Wars. And we would play that for hours. And we always said it was crack on speed because so many things were happening, just so much stuff. It was just like visual stimulation and overload, visual overload. And that's what this is. So I really enjoyed it. I had such a fun time with it. And I would suggest to anyone that just wants a palate cleanser of a game. We need those every once in a while. I listen to people, I talk to people, I see people post online about them only playing one game or one genre over and over and over and over again. And I've never understood that. I've never been able to, I mean, I can't do that with food. I can't do that with video games. I can't do that with movies or music. I need variety. Variety is the spice of life. And so having a palate cleanser of, hey, you're not feeling this or this or this or this. You've been playing a lot of first person shooters, man. Or Ryan, you've been playing a lot of racing games lately, or some old school games. Take a look at something new. And playing Megabonk just was like, dude, this is fresh and it is new and exciting. And I don't want to say it's a flash in the pan. I don't believe it's a flash in the pan or a fad style game, but it's an indie game that has what they call in the the gaming media circuit, it has legs, meaning that it is able to stand on its own and go for a while. It's going to sustain you for 30, 40, 50 hours, and you're going to have a blast the entire time. And like I was saying earlier, AAA publishing games is not doing that at all. You spend $70 on a game that has what? 8 to 13 hours of gameplay in a single very linear space, and then you're done, and that's it, and you've wasted 70 bucks. MegaBonk and these indie games, man, oh, they're just such a joy. Which brings me into Little Nightmares 3. Oh man, let's talk about Little Nightmares 3 for a second. So, Little Nightmares 3 is obviously the third game in the Little Nightmares series. One of my good friends, Sean, he was just bugging the crap out of me one day about this game called Little Nightmares. And I love Sean, and I've talked about him tons of times, and I've said this over and over again on the podcast. Sean knows me really well. He knows what I like and what I look for in video games. And he's not going to suggest me a game that I'm not going to like. So when he suggested Little Nightmares, I went, "Oh, dude, I don't know." I looked at it. It looked weird. It looked creepy. It looked like a horror game. And I went, "Dude, I'm not into that." And he's like, "No, dude, listen to me. You need to play this. You're gonna love it. It's right up your alley. Just shut up and play it." So I bought it and I started playing it, and man, I couldn't have been more wrong. I couldn't have been more 180'd on that game so quick. I don't think I've ever looked at a game, said that's not for me, started playing it, and initially went 180 and went, this is the greatest game ever. Like I did with Little Nightmares, the original, the first one that came out, I think like 2017, 2018, maybe. And it was so interesting. I would say it's a darker version of a Tim Burton game. If Tim Burton only made video games after like Nightmare Before Christmas and all he did was play horror games, Little Nightmares would be that game series because it's a Tim Burton style, weird, creepy, long, awkward, like very weird geometrical patterns, but it has a dice of horror infused into it so that you're scared a little bit. It's a little bit creepy and atmospheric, but that's the thing about the Little Nightmares series for me is the atmosphere. Yes, it's a little bit terrifying, but not unbelievably terrifying. Yes, it plays on your fears, but not 100%. It is not something that is invoking fear and terror. It's evoking a certain style of, I'm intrigued. I don't think this is a good area, but I want to keep pursuing this. It's how I feel about the Alan Wake series too. Alan Wake is dark and it's got like all these weird, creepy shadow enemies and a lot, especially the second one, the jump scares and stuff. I hate that. But on the whole, I think the Alan Wake series does something very similar where the atmosphere compels me to keep playing. I'm propelled forward, keep moving forward on this game because the style and the atmosphere and just the artistic style of the game and the direction of the game is just so unique. You just don't get anything like it. So I've gushed about the series itself, Little Nightmares, and I played 1, I played 2 when it came out right after we moved from California to Tennessee, and that's when Little Nightmares 2 came out. I played it, I loved it, it was amazing, and I think it was either earlier this year or last year, I can't remember, they announced Little Nightmares 3 was coming out, and I went, "Cool, I'm sold." I didn't need to see a lick of anything about Little Nightmares 3 because I knew I was going to buy it. And when the game just came out, I went, all right, cool, I'm buying it. And I bought it and I played it like that first hour that it was released. I bought it as soon it was available. I started downloading it. As soon as it was downloaded, I started playing it and I started streaming it too. So I streamed the first couple of hours of Little Nightmares 3. And immediately something felt off and weird and just not the same as Little Nightmares 1 and 2. And I kept saying that over the stream. I went, "Man, this is something feels off about this game." And it's the one time that I feel like I should have did a little bit of research. I shouldn't have just said it's a series that I know and love from a developer that I know and love. I'm sold 100% media blackout. Because they did release a demo a couple weeks before the game released. And if I paid attention to anything about the game, I would have learned that it's a different developer that developed Little Nightmares 3 versus the developers from Little Nightmares 2. So, a development studio called Tassir Studios developed Little Nightmares 1 and 2. And then I guess the development got passed on to Supermassive Games. Supermassive Games does the Until Dawn, The Quarry, the Casting of Stone, Frank Stone games. They do narrative games, and I have no idea why they were the ones to develop Little Nightmares 3. It's a completely different style of game than what they normally do. And it really shows. I hate saying that because, again, I just said how much I love Little Nightmares 1 and 2. And I started playing Little Nightmares 3, and I just went, dude, this doesn't feel right. And one of the reasons why is because it's so linear. And that's what they do. Supermassive Games do story narrative based games. And that's all this is. This is pushing the characters from left to right, doing a couple jumps every once in a while, solving some of the most basic video game puzzles of all time. Like push a button to get a key, grab the key and put it in the keyhole. Like that is one of the hardest puzzles in the entire game. That's how simple it is. And then there's a lot of chase sequences too, where you're running away from enemies, and it's an experience game. It's not a game built on a lot of mechanics where you build up skills over time to complete and finish the game and feel like you've accomplished something. It's no, you're on a roller coaster and it takes you from set piece to set piece to set piece, and you really have very little agency within the game at all. I mean, you basically can finish the game no matter what as long as you have a controller in your hand. It's just not what I was looking for. It's not what the series is known for, and it's not what makes that series special. And they just handed it off to the wrong developer. Now, I will say that the or the game itself did a good job of making it feel like a Little Nightmares atmosphere or world, but it just feels like they played the first two games and went, okay, our notes for playing through the entirety of Little Nightmares 1 and 2 is creepy setting, weird character design, and parts where the character feels like they are being chased. That's it. That's the entirety of their notes for Little Nightmares 3. And they put all three of those notes into it, and then that's what we got. And it's just such a bummer. And it's weird too because the original developers are making a new Little Nightmares game, but it's not called Little Nightmares. It's called Reanimal. I don't know why this game is I don't know why it exists. I don't know why the other developers made this Reanimal game because it's part of the Steam Next Fest. So on PC, Steam, the main big platformer where you buy all your video games from, has their demo days basically, where they continually put out every X amount of months now demos for all these games, and all these developers put out demos all at one time for like a week or two. It's this big thing that they've been doing for a while, and I'm really not a fan of it, mostly because like everything just gets lost in a shuffle because there's so many game demos, and also I don't want to play demos most of the time. I love demos back in the day. Why? Because I love playing video games and I wanted to play everything. I wanted to see what was going to be good before I plot my money down. And I would do that all the time. And I've talked about like BioShock being one of my favorite demos and experiences because that's how I learned about BioShock was by playing the demo on launch day and then stopping in the middle of the demo, going to Games for You and buying that game from my best friend. So it was just kind of like I love demos, but now as I'm older, I've played way more video games, so I know what I'm gonna like and what I'm not really gonna like. And there's always a little bit of pushback or wiggle room to try something out that it doesn't hold my interest, but I kind of want to see what's going on with it. Maybe I'll get hooked. That's always a possibility. But especially right now with video games, like I was just talking about a little bit ago, the big AAA publisher games don't get demos, the small indie ones do, and there's so many indie games, and a lot of them aren't great. Let's just be real honest. I love the indie scene because we're getting so many great games out every week. It feels like there's a new popular indie game that's hitting the world by storm. It's 100% true at this point, but most of them aren't much more than, here's the thing I just learned. I've been working on this for two and a half, 3 years, while I work my day job and all this, and it just doesn't interest me. So I'm not really into the whole demo thing. But they put out a demo for Little Nightmares 3, and if I would have played it, I would have realized my mistake before plopping money down on Little Nightmares 3 because it was not worth it. It's like a 5 and a I think it's, about a 4.5 hour game, but there was 2 points in that entire game, one at the very beginning and one at the very end, where I got stuck for like 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. And the reason why is because the first one, I didn't realize that you had to pull a trigger to grab something because they didn't tell you that in the game at all. There's just no way. And it doesn't happen right. It's a very mushy mechanic. Your character animation is very mushy, where when you pull the trigger to grab onto something, it doesn't do it right away. It's about a second and a half process, and you're trying to do a zip line, so I'm jumping, and the angle of the camera is pulled back and angled in such a bad way. You can't tell the relationship of the space of your character versus where the zip line actually is in the level. So I would keep missing it more than just not grabbing onto it. And I would hit that sweet spot at the very beginning, and I would be pulling and holding the trigger, but my character couldn't finish the animation because I was actually angled because of the way the camera was. So I would be right angled and aligned with it for a split second, and then I would be going off to the side. And so it could just never grab on properly. I literally spent like 15, 20 minutes, and then I just stopped the stream. I said, sorry guys, I think I'm done for tonight. It's, like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm exhausted. I got to work in the morning, and I just could not grab this stupid thing. I was so bummed out. No, you know what? I actually do think I stopped and I paused for a minute. I took a quick break, and then I came back and figured it out. I can't remember at this point. It was a couple weeks ago. But it's just one of those games that it just didn't feel right, and the reason why is was a different developer, and they really didn't understand what makes it special. Yes, you have those characters. Yes, you have the atmosphere. Yes, you have those chase sequences, but there's so much more to it than that. It's a very shallow experience versus a very deep experience, and it was such a letdown. If I do biggest disappointments or biggest letdowns for game of the year, I think that's going to be at the top with a bullet cuz oh boy, it was such a bummer. Oh man. Yeah, such a bummer. Well, I do want to talk about one other game, which is Ball X Pit. Now, that's how it's written. That's how I'm saying it. But from what I've seen from the developer, it's just called Ball Pit. and the X is either silent or it's supposed to be like it's in conjunction with, so you just don't say it, which I think is stupid. Just call it ball pit, not ball X pit or ball cross pit, because apparently X means cross as well. But this game, oh my gosh, this is the newest, latest, and greatest indie craze. And I got sucked into it again. And the reason why is because not only that it's a good game, but it was on Game Pass. So it was free. I didn't spend any money on this. And I dropped 25 freaking hours in 4 days on this game. I haven't been streaming a lot for various reasons. One of them is because of the studio. I mean, I'm in the studio recording this right now and I'm freezing to death. It is late, it's about late mid October. So it's the 23rd. It's my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, mom. But I'm in the studio right now and it's about 49 degrees outside and I'm freezing. I don't think I could see my breath, but that's because I have a heater on. And it's just so cold that I don't want to stream most nights. I'm just tired. I've been exhausted. We had, I don't think I've said this on the podcast because I think I recorded the podcast before it happened last time. Our dog BB had puppies. And so we've been raising these 8 super fun, cool little baby puppies. And that has taken up most of our free time. So at the end of the day, we're just both exhausted by taking care of these very little puppies. They're 3 weeks old at this point, so it's not that big of a deal now. But man, those first like late September, early October, mid October, just been wiped out. So I haven't been able to stream. And I wanted to stream this, and I think I streamed BallXPit for maybe 45 minutes to do a quick test stream inside with the microphone setup in the house. But man, I had a blast with this game too. It's another indie game. This one, it's kind of a take on Arkanoid. If you don't know Arkanoid, you might know it better as Breakout, where you have a paddle at the bottom. It's almost like the early games of Pong. But Pong is basically top-down tennis, where you control one paddle and the ball bounces back and forth across the screen from one side, the left side, to the right side. You control the left side and you just try and get it into your opponent's corner. You think about it like hockey or air hockey or whatever. That's basically Pong, right? Or tennis. But Breakout, or as I know it, Arkanoid, is where the screen is more vertical. Your paddle is at the bottom, and you are trying to make sure that the ball does not go behind you. But this, and you're trying to break boxes, these little rectangular boxes in the screen. And once you break all of them, that's why it's called Breakout, you advance to the next level. But this is part that, where you're a character, and your character, just like MegaBonk, has special abilities. One is that they always return the ball as fast as possible. Maybe they shoot multiple balls at the same time. And you have a special ball and mini balls, or I think they call them baby balls. And the baby balls just kind of do regular damage, but you have a singular like main special ball. And when it hits something, it does maybe freezes some of the enemies that are coming down. So this game is a mixture, an amalgamation of Breakout / Arkanoid and Space Invaders. Space Invaders, you have enemies coming down from the top of the screen, and you are supposed to shoot those enemies by your little paddle character and kill all the enemies. So you're basically doing that, but instead of shooting, you are throwing out these balls or bouncing these balls back and forth. And the balls are so frantic, it just gets crazy. Again, it's another crack on speed style game where so much stuff is happening. It's very hard to keep up with, but it's so much fun. And it's another run based game. It's got those permadeath elements where you are constantly dying in a run and taking certain things back with you. Like you accrue a certain amount of gold. And when you get X amount of gold, you can unlock a new character, unlock a new ball, or unlock a new stage, or whatever it is. And this also has a boss at the end, too. And those bosses all have special different abilities. Like in the first level, your boss character that you have to kill, the only way that you can hurt them is by attacking their back end. So it's at the very top of the screen, and they're basically like this big, weird, crawling dinosaur skeleton. And so their front part, their head and the arms are attacking you. You can't get close. And it's covering like, I'd say about 85% of the screen real estate for the top section and the sides. So you are angling your balls to bounce off the wall and angle it back and hit the skeleton boss character at the back tail end. It's incredible. So again, it's funny too because I keep thinking about, oh, it's like this game, this game, this game, and this game. So it's like Breakout slash Arkanoid. It's like, what did I just say? Oh man, now I'm just blanking. I don't have my notes in front of me, so because I normally at least am able to tell you what it's exactly like. But it's also like the Bust a Move games. If you've ever played Bust a Move, or I think it's not Bubble Bobble. Bubble Bobble has the Bust a Move characters, Bub and Bob. And Bubble Bobble was the original. But Bust a Move was an arcade game in the mid 90s where you control these two little dinosaur characters, but you don't control the characters. You control their contraption that they're standing in front of. And it's a Connect 3 game or Connect X amount of color game where you are angling this ball to bounce off the walls and attach to the same colored type of balls. And if you get three or more, any of the same color will break and fall down. So it's very similar to like a reverse Tetris, but a color matching game as well. But anyone who plays video games basically knows what Bust a Move is. And that's partly what this game is too. So again, it's a conglomeration of multiple different games into this one new experience, and it is just so fun, so addicting. The levels are timed at 15 minutes, but because of all the amount of XP upgrades that you are getting, you are constantly getting interrupted and you are constantly stopping the timer to choose new upgrades. And the upgrade path for this is really cool because your special ball that you have at the very beginning from the character that you pick also has uh can have new balls that they get by upgrades. So you're shooting two or three or eight at some point special balls in a row, or you are also combining the special balls. One ball freezes, one has a ray that shoots out from left to right, so it's a row. You can combine those so that the ray shoots freezing ability and it freezes an entire row of enemies coming at you. Like it's just such a perfect recipe for chaos. And that's what I love about these games. They're so much fun. It is incredible. So I love BallXPit. I dumped 25 hours in just a handful of days, and I wrote the review for it too, and I really liked it. I should have wrote the review for MegaBonk, but I just wasn't in the mood for it when I wrote it, and I don't know if the time has passed or not. I would like to get a review for that. I wrote a review for Little Nightmares 3 as well. Please check out the website because the website is where I post all my reviews. It's where I post our discussions for game of the, or sorry, not game of the month, question of the week. So every week I drop a new question that I propose. This week is, and this was just yesterday. I always drop it on a Wednesday. This week's question is, what is your go-to snack? And just so that you can kind of get a little bit of taste, it's basically what um I basically do what I'm doing now, but in written form. I'm kind of telling you what's going on. So I give you a little bit of a story about how my friend Brendan and we bought a PlayStation 2 together when we were in high school. So he would have it one week and then I would have it the next week. And then he'd have it the week after and then I'd have it the final week out of the month. And we just rotate sharing this PlayStation 2. Well, when I was working at my first job, he lived about maybe 3 minutes away, so I would finish up my job and then I would drive over to his house. But I worked right next to a Blockbuster, so I'd always rent games and I would always grab a couple snacks for us to have while we're playing games after work. And my go-to snack for video games was always Junior Mints and Vanilla Coke because back in the early 2000s, 2002, uh, I was the vanilla Coke was brand new and it was so tasty. I haven't had a vanilla Coke, just straight vanilla Coke in such a long time. And I'm a Diet Coke drinker. I love Diet Coke. But for whatever reason, vanilla Coke was just so satisfying. And my mom, it's her birthday. So again, happy birthday, mom. My mom always loved Junior Mints. So I would always grab a box of Junior Mints and pair that with a vanilla Coke. And we would sit in my friend's nice air conditioned room and play video games during a hot summer afternoon. And man, it's just such a fun gaming memory that I always will cherish. And so that's kind of my go-to video game snack. And so that's what I like doing on the website is proposing these questions of the week. So there's a new question pretty much every week. And it's something like that. Something fun that you can not only read my thoughts, but you can also drop them in the the question of the week channel in the Discord as well. So if you're a part of the Discord, cool. Hopefully you're enjoying those. Drop your own comments because I love reading other people's as well. And then if you're not a part of the Discord, what are you doing? Get part of the Discord, join us and have some super fun discussions because that's what it's there for. It's not just for the promotion of the streams and things like that, but it's there for discussion. That's why this podcast is created, is so that I can talk about video games to people, but also have the Discord as a partner application to the podcast, a companion piece, if you will, so that I can hear other people's thoughts on video games. Because I love listening or I love talking about video games, but I don't want to listen to myself talk. I want to talk with other people and listen to them as well. So yeah, that's what's going on the website for right now. It's a blast. All right. So let's kind of finish up this podcast. I'm working on a few different things to make the podcast a little bit cleaner, a little bit more concise. And honestly, that's kind of hard for me to do because I just like talking about video games. So I just kind of ramble on, but I kind of have my own format and hopefully other people like it. But I do want to talk about the game of the month for October, which is American McGee's Alice. Number one, yes, that is a real person's name. Yes, his first name is American. Yes, his last name is McGee, and that's what his parents named him. But he created this series, and what's cool too is I actually did a little bit of research because I follow him on X, and I've been talking to him or at least posting about some of the stuff lately. I didn't know he was a part of the original Quake team. And last year we played through the entire Quake series, or at least Quake 1, 2, and 3. I have a VR version ready to stream, and we streamed a little bit of Quake 4 last I maybe earlier this year. It might have been last year, I can't remember. But they finally updated it and finished it I think recently, or it's very close to being done. So I'm waiting kind of for like the official version 1.0, and we'll definitely finish up Quake 4 in VR. But he made in the early 2000s a video game of Alice in Wonderland but it's a super twisted version. It's very much akin to a Tim Burton style video game. If Tim Burton made video games, that's American McGee's Alice. It's way better than the Tim Burton version of Alice in Wonderland that we got in the early 2000s or the early 2010s. Dude, let's not even get into that. That was such a bad series. And it sucks too cuz I wanted to like it. Alice in Wonderland is one of my favorite classical books that I love. I love the idea of Alice in Wonderland. I love the books. I loved the cartoon growing up, the Disney cartoon. The Mad Hatter was always my favorite character, and playing the Alice games was just so innovative and interesting. It's very, very stylized. It's very dark and twisted. It's very much similar to the books, which are nothing really like the cartoon Disney version movie. And I remember when the sequel came out, Alice Madness Returns came out. I was running the game store, and when no one was in and that game came out, I sat down and played through that entire game. It's a long game. It's like 16 hours. So I took like a week to play through that game, and I had such a blast with it. It is one of my favorite games, I think, artistically. It's up there with how I feel about Psychonauts. Alice Madness Returns has that same style and innovation and unique auteurism to American McGee and just his style. So I just loved it. And I've been wanting to do it, and I was going to actually have it for September's game of the month, but September came and went, and I didn't do a game of the month for it really. And so I said, you know what? This is better for, as a October game, anyways. So I was gonna make it September's, but then I went, you know what? This is October's game of the month. And so we did a stream on October 6th. Just happenstance. I did not plan it out, but October 6th was the 25th anniversary of American McGee's Alice. So I was so excited, so stupidly excited to play that. And I remember playing part of it, but I never finished it. So I wanted to finish it on stream. And it's a really good game. Unfortunately, it is PC only. And that's not the bummer part because I play pretty much most of my games on PC anyways. But it is number one, an early 2000s PC game, which means no controller support, really no updates to allow it for it to be modernized or updated in any way. It doesn't work with controllers. It doesn't work with modern. I think it might work with modern operating systems. Maybe I can't remember. And then it doesn't work with modern TVs or monitors, refresh rates, or resolutions. So I had to do a bunch of digging and I had to do a bunch of modding to get the game to work, but I got it and it works perfectly. And so I really do enjoy it because the last time I played this game was 2008. I was living in Colorado, Denver at the time, and I was all alone. And I was sitting on the floor on my beanbag chair, and or not even chair. It's called a love sack, and I've always hated the actual branding of it, but it's a big old beanbag chair, and it was just kind of like the early 2000s. We were trying to make beanbags a thing again, and so I had this big love sack that I would sit and play in front of my TV with my computer hooked up. And again, mid 2000s TVs were not compatible with computers like they are nowadays. HDMI ports weren't a thing. You had to hook it up and do conversions and all this, and it was a mess. So the last time I played this was on my computer on a 60-inch TV through a bunch of conversions to make it run, but it did not look great. And again, the resolution and all that stuff was all screwed up, and there was no controller support, no mods for it. Now, man, it looks great. And For the most part, the controller works, but it is very twitchy. And what I mean by twitchy with the controls, it's so sensitive with moving around and jumping. The jumping is pretty floaty, where you jump and it takes about a second to actually lock in the animation of jumping and moving in the air. Like there is a little bit of air control, but it's not great. So it just kind of gets all messed up and it's really difficult. So I really liked it, but at the same time, ooh, it's a little bit rough. And I played, I think, about 4.5, 5 hours of that game. And I believe it's a pretty long game. It's about, I think, 13 to 15 hours for it. But I had a blast with it. I'm having a great time. I want to do some streams maybe this weekend or at the end of or maybe next week leading up into Halloween to kind of, get a little bit more of that vibe and feel because man, it just has not really felt like October or autumn or slash fall yet or Halloween time until about 3 days ago. That's when the heat finally died because it was like 80 degrees on Sunday, and now we're in the, 60s and or late like low 70s, mid 60s during the day, and now in the evening, man, it's getting into the mid 40s. Like it was 46 degrees last night. Like I said earlier, it's like in the 50s right now. It's pretty cold. So it's starting to feel like Halloween and autumn time. And I'm not a big Halloween guy. Our family does not celebrate Halloween. We don't do it. But I do appreciate the autumn and fall weather. I do appreciate the little bit of spookiness, but I'm not going to celebrate anything. But that's what I love about these games like Little Nightmares and American McGee's Alice. They're not horror games. They're not intended to frighten or scare. They're just intended to be weird and twisted, and the atmosphere is really what draws me in. And American McGee's Alice is exactly that. It's a very dark and twisted take on Alice, but it is not a horror game per se. Because there is definitely some of those enemies where you're just like, oh my gosh, there's like a banshee and it won't shut up and it's just terrifying. But that's just like one enemy, right? And that's flying and all that. And it's hard to aim. Ugh, it's both good and bad, and it's such a bummer that they EA will never allow American to make a third game. I believe it's called American McGee's Alice Asylum was the third game that he was making. And a few years ago, he dropped on the internet. He said, "Look, I've been trying to get this game made for years. It ain't happening. EA just has wants nothing to do with it. They own the series, I think, or something like that. I'm not sure what the IP rights are, but he basically dropped what they call when you develop a game, you call it a Bible, and the American McGee's Alice Asylum Bible, he just put online, and it's like this whole collection of what the game was going to be and different um, concept art and plot points and all this stuff, and it just looked like such a great game. And like they were in the middle of development for a while, I think a couple years, and then EA just canned the project and it's just not happening. So he just said, screw it, I'm going to just drop it online so that at least people understand what we were going to go for and what the intention was. Luckily, with how video games are in the last handful of years, with remakes and reboots and legacy reboots and franchises coming back thanks to Kickstarter and stuff, never say never. So we might maybe one day get American McGee's Alice. I don't think it'll happen for the next 5 to 8 years, though. I think that number one, he's kind of a weirder individual because I don't know, he strikes me as a weirder individual that is kind of done with the gaming industry at this point. Very jaded, perhaps might be the best way of phrasing it from the posts online and things like that. But I still think his stuff is awesome. I love his games, and I'm really excited to finish Alice because I think it'll be cool. But hopefully one day when the industry changes, because we're in the middle of a massive paradigm shift with gaming. I think that the wrongs are starting to be written or roten, righted. I think the wrongs are starting to be righted, and we're going to see a lot more of the original, earlier, late 2000s, early to 2010 game industry come back. But it's going to take a while. I think it's going to take another 3 to 5 years for that to really push forward. But we've seen a massive change in just the last year. All of these big AAA published games and companies have been laying off people left and right. And hopefully there is collateral damage, but I believe most of the people being laid off are the correct people to be laying off. Partly. There is a lot of upper management, CEO type people who are not. And there is a lot of low level people that are being laid off who don't deserve it. But man, the industry is infested. It is infested with the wrong people. So it's starting to get filtered out. Those people are starting to be let go and fired. And it doesn't seem like most of them are coming back. So that's a good thing. But we are in the middle of a gaming industry crash. It is just different than what I predicted earlier this year. Or yeah, it might have been earlier this year. Last year for sure. The last several years I've been talking about, dude, the video game crash 2.0 is happening. It's it's been happening for a while, the last couple of years. And then last year, last mid-year, we just saw a full-blown crack in the crash. Like it was kind of there, was a little bit happening. You would hear glimpses and whispers of bad things happening within the industry. And then middle of last year, I think the floodgates opened. And over the course of over a year now, we've been seeing the industry just bleeding out, just completely gutted and being bleeded out. But it's a good thing because number one, the people who have been ruining the industry for the last decade plus are finally being brought to light, and they're not coming back for the most part. There's still definitely a lot where I go, they jumped ship from here to here, and now this franchise is ruined. But I think the process has been started, and it's just a different kind of crash than I originally anticipated. I just anticipated triple A being completely blown out and gone, and then indies rising up. And that's mostly what's happening. But I think it's a little bit different and it's a little tweaked. I just don't know how yet. I haven't really also studied it. I haven't had the time over the last couple of months to really dive into it because, again, there's just so many things in flux over the last year, basically, since last November basically is when this started, and it was a very quick shift, especially for an industry such as big as the gaming industry, which is a multi-billion dollar industry. It's bigger than movies, it's bigger than TV because it's so massive. It's that ship is taking a long time to turn, but it is being course corrected. And I think for the most part, it is a beneficial turn. So I'm excited. I'm honestly super excited. You heard me talk about MegaBonk and BallXPit, and those two games alone are better and more satisfying and more fun than every AAA game that I played this year, bar none, hands down, period. Those two games blow every triple game that I've played out of the water this year, 100%. And I'm so excited for more of those games to keep coming over and over again and showing up because, man, it's just going to be a blast. So I'm really excited. I'm very hopeful for video games, and I think that should do it for today's podcast. I'm I know I say this kind of like every time, but I'm really trying to get the podcast in a state to where number one, I can make it a little bit more fun and enjoyable. Two, a little bit different in certain ways, and also get it done much sooner. I miss podcasting, I miss talking, but it also wears on me. Excuse me. It also wears on me. So I'm really, really trying to kind of balance it out so that I can do it more frequently, but also for a little bit shorter of a time because I think the hour long plus uh, episodes are just hard for a lot of people to listen to. So maybe something a little bit more frequent, but smaller chunks might be a little bit better way to go. And I've got a lot of other stuff that I'm working on, but it just takes time and it's time that I don't have right now in life because of life. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for listening. I hope everyone has an awesome day, night, morning, wherever you are, wherever you're listening. Thank you so much. Check out the gameordie.net website because again, that's where all the reviews are. If you want a little bit more concise and written understanding of how my brain thinks about video games, go look up some of those reviews. If you want to take part in the community or answer the question of the week articles that I do put on the website, drop into the Discord, join us, and let's have some fun discussions about video games. I post in there every day about something. And you can also take a look at a bunch of pictures of our dogs, all our brand new baby puppies. But that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you next time. Take care and God bless.